Good morning, or it's not even morning anymore.
It's just noon. It's just good
It's
noon.
noon. It's noon. Good afternoon, or it's not even afternoon. Good noon.
Exactly. Yeah.
We don't have something to say to welcome noon.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you, Jason?
I'm good. I was just thinking of like our Friday interviews we had with Anwar and Ian, and both from Friday, which will come up on the podcast. Um, but I'm thinking back to like how inspiring a lot of the founders' journeys can be as like we see people as they kind of like progress through their own personal journey. It made me feeling good
Oh,
for the
good.
weekend. It was like a good send off for
Yeah.
the weekend. I enjoyed it
Yeah.
a lot.
No, I agree. I
Yeah.
mean, it's so inspiring, and I think we forget, yeah, all the things that a founder does because we just see them at events
Mhm.
and talking and sharing their stories. So it's really fun to have them come to the podcast and we can dive deeper into like, all the roles that they play, the fundraising challenges that they might have had, and the so many times like they felt like they're not going to make it through next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And I listened to the show with
Mhm.
Mush recently and I was like, we have ads in here. I've never actually like listened to the whole thing and it's funny how
Yeah.
all those things kind of fit
Yeah.
together when you don't listen to the post
Exactly,
production.
right? We're live here, so you probably shouldn't say that. But,
Yeah. Here is more
yeah.
rough and tumble.
No, but,
Yeah.
and I was thinking we should probably redo some of those ads because we have so many fun things coming, so we should have a routine to
Oh yeah.
do that. But for anyone who hasn't seen our podcast yet, it's called the Energy Tech Startups. We should probably have a LinkedIn page for that or something. Um
That's something.
and we have
Yeah.
some great podcasts that we've recorded recently that are coming out. The one we did with Mush was together. Jason was in Peru at that time, so not Peru. Yeah, Peru in that time. And
It was Peru. Yeah.
we brought on Jan Odegaard, who's the former managing director of Ion, to come and host that with me, and we just had so much fun talking about what's going on today, in particular in the U.S., the drive for reshoring. And bringing someone like Mushkan, who's been really thinking about this like long before any of us really started taking that seriously. So pre-COVID, he realized how important it is to get some of the essential things that we need as a country manufactured in the US and really started working towards that. So now he's working on building batteries and building microgrids. Um, and we had so much fun and so much to talk about that we actually have decided that we're going to have a mini, what do we call it? A mini series
Miniseries.
that's going to
Yeah.
focus on manufacturing in the US. What does that mean? What are the challenges? And we'll bring on different speakers, especially companies, some of our startups who are actually manufacturing in the US, how they see the environment going forward, what challenges they foresee. Because even if you're manufacturing like a battery system in the US, there are many things that you're dependent on the supply chain that comes from elsewhere. So there's just the
Mhm.
challenges of that and the challenges of bringing back some of these essential industries back to the US. Someone was saying that we don't have a single steel smelter in the US anymore.
Uh, I think it's like we do steel smelting for recycling, but it's not like the raw ore that
Yeah,
comes out of the ground. That's not something we
yeah,
do here because it's like something like 96% of our steel is like
yeah.
recycled. It's a
Yeah, and
ridiculous
that's pretty
number. Yeah.
impressive. So anyway, watch out for that.
Yeah.
That will be together with Mushkan and with Jan, and maybe occasionally Jason and I will join them. And the plan is to maybe do 6 series on a different topic with a different guest, and we'd love your feedback on that.
Yeah. And what else happened last week? You had this inner circle leadership group that
Mm,
met. Sound like Thursday was a crazy day because we also had Mars materials. But tell us about
yes.
the
So,
leadership circle.
um, I'm someone who really believes in working on ourselves as a leader. And very early on in my career, when I was, I'd left a company I'd been with many, many years and took on a leadership role at a new company. And I was really struggling to make a mark. I decided to invest in a coach. And she's kind of been on my career journey for many years. And she's now become a friend because, we've just shared so many great moments together. So she was in town. Her name is Rita Hoxton, from Norway, and she was here for a retreat in Santa Fe, and then she stopped by Houston. And so we invited her in, to what we called like an inner circle on leadership. And I wasn't really sure how that conversation was going to go. I invited kind of 20 people from our members and, just supporters with for Energy Tech Nexus, women supporters. And I just invited them, and we said we'll just have a reflection of how we can show up as better leaders. And just right off the bat, like the energy in that room, Jason, like I wish you were there, was just amazing. And
Mm.
and people were vulnerable. They were open about like the real challenges that they're facing, like their own insecurities, how we are getting in our own way to reaching our greatness
Mm.
and, expressing our superpowers. um,
What was Tell me about the group. Was it like
it was a
entrepreneurs? Was it
mix.
just people in
It was a mix, and
innovation?
actually,
Okay.
I think that's what's made it powerful. So as we were thinking about, it was
Mm.
so impactful for the people there. Many of them reached out and said, "Can we do this on a regular basis?" So it was a good kind of test to see actually there is a need for this. So I had
Mm.
some people from corporates that we know who showed up at many of our events. I had some founders there, and then there were maybe 5 to 6 people who were just in transition in between jobs. They've just
Mm.
left maybe some executive roles at medium-sized companies and are now looking for their next opportunity. And yeah, so it was a mix of people, and I think that also made it very valuable because there were one or two people who were kind of early on in their career, and I felt like those who were more experienced really felt like in an empowering position to be like, you know what, how can we help you, and how can we encourage and uplift you, because you're still early on in your career and you have so much ways to go, and it's very easy to be insecure. So it was a great success, and it's hard to kind of describe it in words. But
Yeah. Were there any themes that kind of emerged, I guess, that you saw like commonality
okay, so there was
from the
one that was really
attendees?
funny, which was
Okay.
about everyone just trying to always optimize, and
Mm.
how uh, we're trying to always, how can we do the most things in one day, and how can we do multiple things at the same time, and you're just always on the go, on the
Mm.
go, on the go. And her challenge was like, how can I do more? And we were
Mm.
like, why do you even want to do more? Actually, the question should be, why shouldn't we be doing less? um
Yeah.
and how yeah
It's like it's like the classic effective executive. It's like do the things that matter most,
yeah
right? Because you could always do
Yeah,
more.
because so
And
we were, some of us were like kind of in the same camp, and the others, I felt, who had like maybe more experience, were a bit like, yep, we were like this when we were younger, but now we've realized that that it's also, we realize it's like FOMO, fear of missing out. You want to be at every
Mm.
event, you want to be at every party. Um, and people were like, yeah, I see LinkedIn and I see all these people living like great lives and great careers, and I see their Instagram and it's their great family lives, and it's just, I feel so left out. um, and
Mm.
instead, someone else said, I've discovered this phase called JOMO, which is joy of missing out. So just be comfortable with missing out on things, and actually see how it creates time for you. Like sometimes you feel like time is going
Mhm.
so fast, and I think the only way to slow it down is like to just say no to more things.
Yeah.
And it'll just be better for your mental health, and the things that you do, you will get more return from them.
Yeah. And then, just moving it forward a little bit, we went to see Mars Materials,
Mm,
right? Was that the next thing on
yeah.
Thursday? I thought that was really cool. I like to see people's facilities and factories. But I think what was kind of interesting about it was also co-located with the Shell Technology Research Center in West Hollow, and you kind of get there and it's like a gated compound and there's security and they're like, who are you visiting? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm just here to see this cool facility. And then when you get in, they stop you both at the gate and then again at the entry space because the complex is huge. And we probably walked what 12 minutes just to get over to the Mars sector. Um,
Yeah.
but as I was walking through, they had like a hall of history,
Mm.
right? There was like a Pennzoil hall, and I don't know what else. But it's
Yeah.
amazing what capability
Yeah,
they
they had
have
all
there,
these they're
right?
like, engines from, Formula 1. I guess the Shell is a sponsor of Formula 1, right?
No, I think there was a Corvette
Yeah,
engine in there, and I think I saw there was there's an old
yeah,
Toyota engine. I don't and then there might have been a high
yeah,
performance
okay.
racing version.
Yeah, you would know more
So it's
about
just
that
funny
than
to
me,
see.
but
Yeah.
I just saw some engines and, like, like a car that was, like, branded as Shell, so, I'm assuming they do Formula 1 or something like that, some sports car,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, and, what I was really excited to see right at that technology center, Mars Material, they pointed us to, they're building, direct air capture unit right there on site. Yeah.
Shell is building it, but then they're giving some of the
Mhm,
offtake. I forget if Mars is getting the offtake or vice versa, but
mhm.
yeah, they're like those shovel in the ground, concrete getting poured. That's an amazing investment for the
Yeah, I mean, it's
ecosystem,
just
for
amazing to
sure.
see the interest because I know Shell has been very early in the carbon capture and storage game. I worked on their project in Alberta, um, where they were storing about 1 million tons of CO2 from their oil sands refinery. So they've been in the game for quite some time, and it's interesting to see them also then take interest in direct air capture, whose costs are still quite high compared to just doing CCS. Um, mhm.
Mhm.
No, absolutely.
And then
Mm,
and then behind that direct air capture site, they had like a hazardous materials storage facility, which on the one hand, you're like, okay, whatever. It's kind of like I don't know, a big open janitorial closet. But on the other hand, it's like it's got permits. They could store dangerous stuff. They could store volatile stuff. And when you're dealing with like I guess ammonia, even right, like which is like what we have in Windex. Like when you have a lot of it, suddenly it needs to be handled in a different way. And so you could definitely see how all that kind of capex and investment was already there. And I think they said Mars Materials was there, Dexmat was there, and they're all kind of tapping into this
mm,
asset, which is really underutilized because the building looked very empty because of just where the investment
mm.
dollars are going in the organization. But it was very clear like there is an opportunity for startups to um, kind of get going. And if you think about just like permitting requirements, man,
Yeah.
if you can get started in 3 months, you've saved whatever $100,000
Yeah,
in
I mean,
burn
what an
rate,
amazing
right?
model actually, going there,
Yeah.
and yeah, you don't need any permitting, everything is kind of already set up, um, in the lab to be run safely. And then they said, they if some of the equipment fails, they can find like backup at the Shell facility. Maybe someone has something that they're not using.
Oh yeah, then
Yeah.
electrolyzer they were able to
Mm.
rust up. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
just a lot of expertise, that's at that technology center that they can tap into. So it was very fascinating to see, like, that collaboration between startups and Shell.
And the weird irony of like so Shell is kind of going through another restructuring, and I think everyone's just kind of waiting to see where the chips lie. So they're not doing anything right now as they kind of wait for the restructure to happen. So I'm certain they have people in engineering come over and just explore because they don't have any other projects to really working on right now while they wait for the restructure to happen. So it's just an interesting dynamic of like the startup is always go
Mhm.
go go, and sometimes in a corporate world you're just
Yeah.
waiting to figure out what your job is. And so like how do you make use of that kind of intellectual asset as well as the physical asset? It's by being there you get a lot
Mm,
of value,
mm.
right?
Yeah, no, so that was great, and I'm really enjoying these field trips that we are doing, visiting our
Mm.
members, especially those who have, like, lab facilities or pilots. So if you want an opportunity to go do that, come and join us at Energy Tech Nexus, and we can take you with us. Um, I also
Mhm.
wanted to talk about liftoff because we had our first session last week. So talk to us a little bit more about what it is, and how did it go the first week.
Yeah, so Liftoff is a program we're running to teach people how to raise their first $1 million of capital, and the first lesson is to how to not need your first $1 million of capital, because I think a lot of times you jump in, you think, okay, I need money, I need capital, let's go raise it. And it turns out like raising your first round, it just takes like 18 months if you don't know what you're doing. Some people get lucky and they do it in 3 to 6 months, but the reality, there's just other like ways to get capital that might be cheaper. Um, but you just have to have certain things. Like a lot of times you need cash flow. A lot of times you need to put in like a capex investment to kind of get your technology to the right place. And so what I wanted people to do is to kind of look at their situation and exhaust the other options before going off and raising equity. Because the reality is raising a seed round can take you 18 months, and it honestly takes 50% of the founder's time, and it really does. And so when you think about like the cost of that, like if you value, the founder, if they were getting paid like market, like that's easily $150,000 of like lost productivity to go off and fundraise. Like, would it be better building product? And so we did that in class one. And then we also had everyone kind of introduce themselves to each other. And then in class two, which is today, actually in like an hour, we're going to bring in Latham and Watkins. They're going to walk us through a term sheet. I have two sample term sheets that were real term sheets. One got signed, one didn't. And we're actually going to go through it as a class and have the entrepreneurs kind of decipher and take away what they learned from them. And we're going to find out who would take which term sheet, which is also part of the
Exactly.
exercise. Um, and the part of the lesson here is um, it's okay to walk away from a term sheet. Like when it's bad, you want to cite it and expect them to come through. And one of the things that's kind of not obvious is I would say about 20% of the term sheets I've seen issued here come from investors who like really should not be investing, and you can see it in the term sheet. Like you can see how they're going to behave, and you can see their mindset. And so the term sheet is, um, it's a great thing to get. It means someone wants to put money into you, but man, it also tells you should run away. And so that's part of the exercise. And then, yeah, that'll be today. I think we're going to run out of time after we go through that exercise. So then we'll have another program next week. So it'll be
Oh,
good.
awesome. Yeah, no, I'm really excited about this one. There's so much that I'm looking forward to learning. And I was there last week, and I was so impressed to see Jason as like with his professor hat on. You did a great job. And I think everyone really enjoyed it. And it was just really good engagement from the room there.
Mm.
And I liked how we, broke into smaller groups and really were able to hear um, the pitch from each of the other companies that were there and some of their struggles. So I look forward to getting to know these companies more, and really helping them through their fundraising journey.
Yeah, I think it's hard to explain. But like we do workshops where we try to keep groups to like 6 or 7 people, and when you have these like experienced professionals where people are coming into the journey from different stages, like some of them have talked to 2 investors, some of them have talked to 200 already. Having the group come together to share their experience and what's working, what hasn't worked, what they've learned is as much value as like the lecture itself. Is it's that ability to kind of synthesize with your peer group, and so that's an integral part of how we run the liftoff
Hmm.
program.
Yeah, and next, so this program runs over 7 weeks. Every Monday we meet, and next week is actually going to be special because we're also launching our investor program. um,
Mm.
and that is limited to just about 20 participant. We're doing starting with the launch and syndication meeting at 2:30. So if you're interested in that, send me or Jason a DM, and we'll get back to you on more information on that if we still have spots available. But if you can't make the 2:31, we're doing a happy hour afterwards at 4:30. That's a Founders and Funders Fusion. And we're also going to have that at the Ion. So feel free to join for that. And
Mm.
that way you can come talk to us about Liftoff, about our investor program and all the different things that we're doing.
Yeah. Good. Um, I wanted to also throw up some slides that I came across the last week, um, that I thought were kind of interesting and maybe kind of speaks to the investor ecosystem that's going
Hmm.
on right now. And this was in my newsletter, so let's look here. So this all comes from Carta, which is a great source data. They have this guy post every week, and I like read it. And it doesn't break out energy tech, but I think it tells us about what's going on in the greater ecosystem. And the thing that's kind of happened since 2023 is like there've been no IPOs. There's a ton of capital that came into our system in 2021, and then there just haven't been exits. And so when there are no exits, like the money just doesn't come back into VC, and so they have trouble redeploying it. And so this is a chart of like projected headcount in our industry. And what do you see? At the end of 2023, headcount is flat, if not negative. And it reflects the fact that there just is less money slushing around. And so we're seeing a lot of challenge with founders going out and raising today. And it's because there's just no capital. And so I think the diligent founder is sitting here going, okay, capital discipline, how do I make sure every dollar goes further? Kind of going to what you were saying earlier, Nada. It's like we got to make sure everything we do is actually the important stuff, because we're in this environment where you have to be very efficient, and there's just not a huge growth in our ecosystem. And the second chart that kind of plays with this is how long it takes someone to raise a Series A from their Series seed. So this is like a cohort display. So the bottom axis is showing like the year someone raised their round of capital, and then it's within 2 years did they raise their Series A in the next round. And so people who had raised in 2020, by the end of 2022, there was a lot of people kind of raising more money because there's so much capital in the system. And then there was a hard reset when capital wasn't really available, where people in 2021 were trying to raise after 2023, very big decline in who kind of made it within those first 2 years. And it's been very low. And so what happened was there was a mismatch. Too many people with seed funds, not as much Series A to go around. So you saw the hiring is down, but then on top of that, all those companies who had raised a lot of seed hadn't really converted. Of all of the ones that are kind of out there, actually, like hard tech had the most survivability or most progression, but it was still pretty terrible. Like it was still half as good as where it was during the high. So I think there's this narrative that we all felt, which is shown in the data now. Capital discipline kind of has ruled the day, and it's the new data is starting to come in for 2025. Like the people who raised 223, we're getting now 6 months of data for like what that cohort looks like. What he says in the text further up is that it hasn't necessarily gotten much better. And so I think just that narrative is going to continue in investors' minds. Like it's about capital discipline. It's about really stretching that out. And I think what that means is planning for, a 3-year cycle of raising as opposed to 2 years. And I think the conventional wisdom is always raise enough money to run 24 months. And what I'm saying here is like, no, plan for 36 months and be realistic. And I think you don't want to get caught short because the capital is just so tight and continues to look that way.
No, that's awesome. I mean, not awesome that the market is at a standstill, but
It's awesome that the data is
awesome
there,
that the data
right?
is there and that we can see it. So yeah, we can follow who is this guy? Peter Walker, who
Yeah.
presents this. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. No, thank you for sharing.
He always has. I love
Yeah,
good
the
charts. Like
charts
that's
are
my
good.
favorite thing. And then the other thing we have going on this week, we got our Work Wednesday, which everyone's always invited to, and we're gonna have good food. But also on, I think 3 p.m. on Wednesday, we're also helping to host a program with Lacey LA Clean. Is it Clean Tech
Yeah.
Institute? And they support a program to help people with working capital, usually backed with government grants, but pretty much any sort of grade A credit customer. They can support some working capital in the $100,000 to $200,000 range, and we help with identifying companies who are really ready. And we can really help. Hey, Rusty, thanks. And I think a lot of what we're doing with Liftoff, with trying to bring different tools to bear, is to help kind of reduce the amount of work a founder has to spend on finding the capital. So when they get out there, they spend more time on kind of raising the right investment and being strategic with how they deploy it. And I think that's really our goal between Liftoff and things like our Saffron product that we're pulling out.
Okay. Good.
Good.
I was also just reading that the House Republicans have proposed a new budget, which is going to impact the IRA. So we're going to get a bit more information about, what has been cut off, in particularly when it comes to IRA and other incentives that were put on there. And overall, they propose a 22% reduction in any non-defense discretionary spending. So that includes a lot of cuts for clean energy programs and climate research. It's not
Mm.
approved yet, so this is going to be sent to the Senate. But it eliminates billions in clean energy investment. It also rollbacks a lot of environmental regulations, cuts out some of the tax credits that were going to be provided to renewable power, EVs, and even like energy efficiency type of initiatives that were out there. So not good news, but what it
Mm.
does give is some kind of certainty as this progresses forward, and as we watch for what it's going to mean for different things. So it's going to impact like 45V for hydrogen, 45Q
Oh
for
wow.
CCS. They'll CTCV actually had a chart that shows how everything will be impacted. And so 45Q in their current proposal is maintained. So that's for carbon capture. But credit
Okay.
transferability will be restricted for foreign influenced entities. So I guess it depends on who you are. But
Yeah.
45V, like clean hydrogen, they're proposing an early termination in 2026.
Oh. Oh, I
Yeah.
read that. Yeah, that's
So
unfortunate.
that's
Yeah.
a big blow to US hydrogen built out. Um, it undermines the $3 per kilogram incentive that was put in place before. Um,
Mm.
yeah, so it's something to watch out
I
for.
know And I know, I think CTVC and
Mm.
Sightline, they had a Zoom session right in the middle of our interview with Anwar, so I
Yeah.
didn't get to make it. But they were talking about like specifically how these policies are going to influence just the fundraising stack within energy and climate. So I'm sure that's going to turn into a blog post shortly, and I'll pull it up when it comes out. But I was sad to miss it. I signed up secretly hoping they would send
Oh,
me a
yeah.
video
Well, I
recording
just
link
saw in their
afterwards.
yeah, I
No
saw in their
bueno, didn't
newsletter,
get
you can actually email them and they'll
it.
send you a video link.
Oh, okay.
So you haven't
Yeah, I was gonna tap into one of my former employees over there who's, hopefully would
yeah,
get it for us, but no,
yeah.
I'll email them and we'll share what is shared.
Mhm. Awesome.
So,
Well, yeah,
good.
things are, moving along, some good things and not so good things, but we do know we're in a
Yeah,
tougher context right now in terms of fundraising, in terms of like what's going to happen on the regulatory side. So it'll be, I don't know if you have any thoughts on like as a founder, other than yeah.
capital discipline.
Mm,
It's just capital discipline, go slow, take your time, just have real value, and I think that's kinda the reason why we need incentives, right, is because, certain things just the costs aren't
mm,
there, right? Like we need to come down the cost curve when it comes to things like carbon capture and storage. In other markets like batteries and solar, maybe we don't need it
mhm,
as much anymore because it seems like the dollar per kilowatt hour is at parity and honestly better than natural gas these days. So I think it is a challenge, but like any entrepreneur, you got to deliver
mhm,
real value, right? And if that I hate to use the word pivot, but you have a core technology. If that model what doesn't work anymore, there's technologies like geothermal that is looking kind of interesting because the demonstration projects are there, the data center
mm,
customers are there, and that's looking like viability. And actually, that reminds me, I think there's a geothermal transition summit going on this week here in Houston. So if
mhm,
that's not on your radar, you should check it out. I think Geothermal Rising is sponsoring or partnering with that one. And if this is probably a good place to connect with others working in the space, both on the technology level, but also in on the project side of things. So I assume that's downtown, but that's here in Houston.
mhm,
Um, I'm trying to think of what else is going on. And then I think I saw that Climate Drift is hosting a program on Friday with our friend Deanna Zane. Oh, and Tim Woodcock, who's also awesome. And they're going to talk about first of a kind projects. And I
mhm,
think that one's a webinar. And that's going to be high quality as well. So would definitely put that on your radar. It looks like they're meeting a Google Meet, which should be a very interesting way to have people on there as opposed to like a Zoom webinar. But I'm sure it'll be a good discussion.
mm.
So that's for this week. I don't know if there's anything else people should keep an eye on. I see there's a accelerator program coming to the Ion called Charge North America. It looks like applications are due. Is it due next week? No, it looks like it's running next week. And then we have our syndication meeting, and then
Yeah.
we got the hydrogen forums coming. I'm sure the hydrogen forum will be a mopey place if the tax credits are going away.
Yeah.
But we got to figure it out as an industry, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That'll be interesting. Yeah. So the Charge is actually a conference, I think.
Oh,
Right? Charge North America.
oh,
It's a conference that
okay.
happening next week. We are partners there, so we do have for our members some free tickets. So reach out to us, so you can get access, and it's mostly around kind of marketing. If you're within marketing in the energy industry, that's the place to go in terms of like storytelling. How do you get your message out there? So it should be a good event. Some of our members are there. They're presenting. It's going to be at the Ion, so very central location.
Yeah, here's our quick pitch. If you join as a member of the Nexus, the tickets for Charge are $800. You're gonna pay for your membership for the year if you get into those tickets if you really want to go. So that's
Yeah.
my shameless plug. But yeah, I see from Sonia there is a hydrogen conference coming. That's the 5th annual Hydrogen Forum, and that one looks like it's innovation and policy focused, and that'll be at the Westin in the Galleria. So
Mm,
but I don't think we have a discount for that one that we found yet, so we might need to
mm,
reach out to them.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Good.
Awesome.
Well,
Yeah.
I
And
think
our
that's
next Determined to Lead, it's still a few weeks away, but it's going to be focused on geothermal, and I think that's
awesome.
on um, June. I was going to say January, June 20th
Yeah.
is the date for that one. Mhm.
Yeah. No, I heard the lithium extraction one was amazing. So I
Oh, that
kind of
was really
wish
good.
I had a chance to listen to the whole thing. I got to rewatch the recording,
Yeah.
and we got to figure out how to get those hosted for people.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, we'll get there one step at a time. First, we do the events, then we record them, and then we have to think about how do we actually get it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. It's a lot of great content. Good.
Awesome. Well, I'm
Okay.
excited for liftoff after this and the rest of the
So
week.
and Sonia, I see you're asking if we can post. So if you go to our website and register as a LinkedIn, like through LinkedIn as a user, you'll automatically get subscribed to our newsletter, and it talks about all the things that are going on in Houston. That's kind of the only way to get onto our weekly newsletter. And generally, we're covering anything that's energy tech and climate related, in terms of things people can go to. And if you become a member, we post discounts. We'll sometimes host meetups around large conferences, especially when they're outside
Mm,
of Houston. And then we also try to provide some insights for folks. So take a look at that, and we'll see if we can tag some of these events as well in the event
mm.
post.
Yep. Good.
All right. Yes, we like the new time too, Rusty. It's
I
early in the
know.
morning. I could not get our
Yeah.
stuff together.
Thank you for joining,
So
Rusty. And yes, I think for us also, as we're building this forward, it's really important to not only support the founders, but also figure out that these founders are going to get funding, right? So not our liftoff program
yeah.
helps with that, but a big part of what we do is also build that investor community, because there is capital in Houston, but how do you deploy that, and how do you deploy that to the right companies? So we will be working more on that. Hmm. Mhm.
All
Awesome.
right.
Well, thank you everyone for
All
joining.
right.
We really appreciate your comments. So thank you for coming on. And if you're watching the recording, leave a message. Let us know what more you would like to know about. But thank you for joining for today, and we'll see you next Monday.
See you next Monday. Wait, Monday or
Oh,
Tuesday?
oh yeah.
Isn't next
Next
Monday a
year,
holiday?
next week, it's going to be a Tuesday, unless
Yes,
we're
it'll be
skipping it.
next
I don't
Tuesday.
know. You decide. Okay, we'll
Let's
do
do
it.
it. We'll
Okay,
do it.
we'll
We'll
move
do
it
it.
to
All
Tuesday.
right.
Okay.